If you want to know where I'm going, oh Lord, where I'm going, I'm going soon. Somebody asked me the other day, when trials come your way, how is it that you're walking around with a smile on your face? I tell them everything's okay, 'cause I'm going to a better place. So if they ask you, tell them for me, I'm going yonder. I'm going up yonder. When this life's over, I'm gonna be with my Lord. Yeah, that's why I take all the pain. Yes, I can.
Let the Spirit of the Lord rise among us. Let the Spirit of the Lord rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Somebody help me say, whoa, whoa. Let it rise. Let the glory of the Lord say, let the glory of the Lord rise among us. Let the glory of the Lord rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Y'all can help me say, oh, 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 let it rise. Let the power of the Lord say, let the power of the Lord rise among us. Let the power of the Lord rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, help me say, oh, 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 let the glory of the Lord say, let the glory of our God rise among us. Let the glory of the Lord rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Good morning. Should have gave a 2-minute time limit on those speakers. They ate up all my eulogy time. Alison gave me a handwritten list of 16 people that she wanted to give reflections of her life. Because of the time restraints, I had to cut it down to 5. If we had 2 minutes apiece, I could have gotten all 16 of those people. Anyway, on behalf of the family, I want to thank you all for being here to celebrate with the family the life of my wife, Alison Smith. I was all right till y'all started talking. I was sitting there trying to be strong. I didn't want to look at the casket. Then I started hearing people telling about Alison. Then my daughter got up here and started crying, and that just started it right there. I hadn't been able to turn it off yet. I stepped out to kind of clear my mind. So y'all pray for me.
This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I wouldn't be here except for the fact that Alison asked me to deliver a eulogy. I delivered my father's eulogy in 1996. Thank you. I delivered Alison's father's eulogy in 2012, and those were hard. But this is a new level, a lot of difficulty. So pray for me. A eulogy, by definition, is a speech given in praise of someone. I don't have to give a eulogy for Alison. Her life was a eulogy, as evidenced by your presence here today, as evidenced by the things that you all said about her. Her life was a eulogy, and your life will be your eulogy. We write our own eulogies by the life that we live. Alison lived a life of love, of service to other people, of helping people, caring for people. That's why you're here, because she's touched your life as she's touched mine. Alison says she did not want a sad remembrance. She did not want people to come here and be sad. She wanted us to celebrate her life. And that's what I'm trying to do right now, to celebrate. So I need to take off my sad face and put on my celebration face, because that's what she would have wanted. I'm thankful to the Bama family for all that you've done in making this possible. You donated the use of this building. You've put together all of the things that we're enjoying today, the comfort of this building and the fellowship meal. And I want to thank you all for that. And that too is evidence of the fact that Alison touched lives, because it's because of the fact that she touched lives here at Bama that they willingly and openly did this for her, because they love her like we love her. Although many have prayed for Alison's recovery and for my strength, and people as far away as France have prayed for her recovery, it was not God's will that she recover from this illness in the way that we thought she should recover, or that we wanted her to recover. God has a purpose and a plan that's bigger than what we ask for. And sometimes we don't see his purpose or his plan. We only see what we ask for. We only see what we want. But sometimes God's purpose and his plans supersede what we ask for. And I don't yet know what God's purpose and plan is for taking Alison. I know that there's a plan. I know that there is a purpose. And I pray that the Lord reveal it to me. But I don't question his judgment, because God knows more than we know. He sees more than we see. We see the scene before us right now. He sees the big picture. He sees what will become of this. He sees the seeds that Alison planted and what will flourish because of the planting of those seeds. And so my favorite passage is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord. Get back to this mic. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Thank you, Clarence and Tootie. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your past. My understanding is limited. I don't fully understand why God allowed this to happen. But I trust him because his purpose and his plan is higher than what I want and what the family wants and what we all wanted, which was for Alison to be recovered from her illness and to resume life here with us. Someone may ask the question, why would a loving God allow such a beautiful soul to be taken? Why would he allow Alison to suffer and die? And the answer is the same way he allowed his son to suffer and die so that we can live, so that we can have hope, so that we can walk through this life with a divine perspective, not looking at our circumstances, but looking at him who has control of the circumstances. We have to trust him. Jesus, when he was in the garden, before he went to the cross, he prayed and he asked his Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. But he said, nevertheless, not as I will, but thy will be done. We must learn to bend our will and be submissive to the will of God, even when we don't see it, even when we don't understand it, even when we don't agree with it. We must trust him. Isn't that right? My wife had a heart for service. Everyone who spoke this morning testified to the fact that she had a heart for serving. She shared with me how much she loved serving people. And as we walked through this valley, as we walked through this storm, even on her sick bed, she was still serving people. She was serving those who came into the room to minister to her, to give her her medications, to check on her, to feed her. She was still serving them until the very end. It's her nature. It's her passion to serve God through service to people. And I admire that about her. That has made me a better man. And it has helped me to hone in my focus on serving God through serving others. I asked Alison one day, what are some of the lessons that you learned through this journey, through this struggle that she was in? Because life teaches us lessons. If you pay attention, life is about living, learning, and sharing. No one can teach you a lesson like life can. So if you pay attention, you will learn lessons from life. And I asked Alison, what were some of the lessons that she learned? And let me share with you some of the things that she said she learned in this journey. She said that she learned the power of presence. She learned the power of the presence of God. She learned the power of my presence with her. And that's why I spent so much time at the hospital, because my presence comforted her. She learned the presence of family and friends and people who came to visit her when we'd be at the house. I keep walking away from this microphone. I keep forgetting I got to stay by the microphone. Whenever someone come to the house, and people were always coming to the house, home health care workers and nurses, doctors, therapists, were always coming to the house. Thank you, bro. And Alison was always excited when somebody came to the house. Me, I was looking at it from a whole different view. Because in order for someone to come to the house, is this thing on? Can you hear me now? Whenever someone were to come to the house, I had to make sure that she was taken care of. I had to make sure that she was clean, that she was fed, that she was presentable. I had to make sure that the house was clean and presentable. I had to make sure that myself was clean and presentable. So I was looking at the logistics of it all. She was looking at the presence of someone coming to spend time with her. I didn't get it at first. I get it now. The presence. But more importantly, she understood the power of the presence of God. And it was because of that divine perspective and understanding that despite what we were going through, despite the challenges, God was with us. And God was with her. And she understood that. And she clung to that. Brothers and sisters, the power of presence is real. And I remember times years ago when someone would be sick and I would say, I'm going to come to visit you. And I didn't go. And that person eventually passed away. I felt guilty afterwards. And now I understand why. Because that presence is so important to that person. And so whenever you promise to do something, do it. Whenever you promise to come see someone, do it. Because it's important to that person. We both were comforted by the presence of God. Even though we were walking through a valley, walking through a storm, we knew that we weren't alone. She knew that she had my presence. She knew that I would be there. We knew that God was there. And it was the presence of God that gave us peace as we journeyed through that valley. Another lesson that she learned, well, I'm trying to cut through some of this stuff because for time's sake. But we did understand that without having a divine perspective, without understanding that the presence of God was with us, we would not have been able to weather that storm. We would not have been able to go through that and looking at it from a divine perspective. But we knew God was with us, regardless of what else was going on. We walk by faith, not by sight. The circumstances are what you see. Faith is what God's word says. And God's word says, I will be with you. I will never leave or forsake you. I will be with you even as you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, or the shadow of the valley of death. I will be with you. We clung to that, and that gave us hope. Another lesson that Alison said she learned was the power of priority. What are the important things of life? Many people, they strive for things in life. They strive for success. They strive for financial independence. They strive for this and that. But when you're laying in a hospital bed and you're facing your own mortality, you understand and recognize what's really important in life. Because you can't take any of the things with you. All of the things that people strive for and there's nothing wrong with these things in and of themselves. But when it becomes your priority, it's a problem. When you put it above your service to God, it's a problem. When you put it above your service to your fellow man, it's a problem. And so she shared with me that priority is so important. Some people measure success by money. Some people measure it by education. Some people measure it by other things. But Alison's success was measured by the number of lives that she touched. When Alison took a turn for the worse, and I started making calls and texting people and updating people on what was going on, one of the texts that I sent out was to Alison's
one of her best friends, Dana, of over 30 years. Dana was in Mississippi at the time. Dana got in the car that night, and they drove from Mississippi to Houston, arrived at 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't do that for someone who hasn't touched your life. You don't do that for people who have not made an impact in your life. Isn't that right? Your presence here today, your love and admiration that has been expressed for Alison is evidence of the fact that she has touched your life this morning. As I said in the hospital room, Alison's last days, 2:30 in the morning, I'm sitting there in the chair next to her bed. As I watched her struggle to breathe, gasping for air, holding on to this vapor we call life, I reflected upon a scene earlier that same evening when the room was filled with people who had come to visit her. Her mother and her sister were there. Brother Tim Daniels were there. Chris and Scott Cornett were there. My daughter Daria and her son were there. And I thought about the fact that they were there and they were sharing memories about how Alison had touched their lives. Brothers and sisters, that's what it's all about. It's about touching lives for God. She lived a rich life. We didn't have much money, but we didn't need much money. The Lord supplied everything that we need throughout this entire journey. We did not want for anything. Everything that we needed, the Lord provided for us. He opened doors that no one else could have opened. He shut doors that no one else could have shut. So he was there with us. He provided for us. Alison mentioned, and Carol and I think someone else mentioned the fact that anybody who visited Alison, whether at home or in the hospital room, she always told a story about the people who ministered to her who had biblical names. She was so excited when somebody came in the room and there was one guy named Abraham. Oh, she was so excited. They had a Joseph. They had a Mary. They had a Martha. They even had a Jesus, pronounced Jesus, but it was Jesus. And I asked her one day, I said, well, you didn't have a Jezebel or a Judas come through here. And they didn't. But she was so excited about these people with biblical names because she said that these people with these names was a way of God confirming to her, I'm with you. I'm providing for you. I'm taking care of you. I need to close. Y'all took up all my time. Then she shared with me that she learned about the power of providence. And I just demonstrated to you how God provided for us. Even in the midst of our storm, the Lord provided for us. And then finally, she shared that she learned the power of forgiveness. And let me just say this. Forgiveness is for you, not the other person. Forgiveness frees you. Because when you hold on to bitterness or unforgiveness or hatred, you are a slave to that emotion. And Alison shared with me that she struggled with forgiving some people. But when she was laying on that bed, she realized, I have to let that go. She had to release herself. And as she understood the power of God's forgiveness and the fact that he forgave us through his son. And when you understand the power of God's forgiveness for us, it makes it easier for you to forgive someone else. At the end, Alison asked me to be her voice. She asked me to advocate for her because as her body was getting weaker and her voice was getting weaker and the cancer was doing more and more damage to her lungs, she couldn't speak very much. So she asked me one day to be her advocate, to be her voice, to communicate to her doctors and her nurses what her wishes were. As her voice today, I'm telling you that she wants you. If you're holding unforgiveness in your heart, if you're holding if you're withholding love for someone, she wants you to let it go. She wants you to love because love is stronger than hate. It's stronger than pride. It's stronger than many of the things that causes us to hold on to unforgiveness. When people would come to the hospital room and they would ask Alison, how you doing? How you feeling? Her stock answer was, I'm well. I'm blessed. And I remember telling her one day, babe, why do you say that? People could look at you laying in the bed and see you not well. When they ask you, how you doing or how you feeling, they want to know how you're feeling on the inside. They want to know if you're in pain. They want to know if you're tired. And then it dawned on me. She was telling them how she felt on the inside. Because when she said, I'm well, what she meant was, it is well with my soul. That despite all of the circumstances that I'm going through, despite what I'm going through, it is well with my soul. I'm blessed despite my circumstances. It's more than what you see in this bed. I'm blessed because I know that God is with me. I know that when I leave here, I'm going to a better place than this place. And so it is well with her soul. It is well, and she is blessed. Alison doesn't live here anymore. That's her body. Her body was trapped in a disease package. Constantly deteriorating, constantly going down, constantly causing pain. But her soul was alive and well. And when I held her hand as she took her final breath, and I escorted her as far as any human being could escort someone to the gate. And the Lord dispatched his angels to take her from there and carry her to the other side. Into Abraham's bosom, into paradise. She changed addresses. She doesn't live here anymore. And unless the Lord comes back again, all of us will change addresses. The question is, what will your next address be? Will it be North Boulevard or South Boulevard? And that all depends on the life that we live here and now. And so I encourage you this morning to make wise use of your dash. Someone has a program I can borrow right quick. When you look on the program and you see beneath her name, you'll see two dates. You see July 10, 1965, as the day she was born. April 27, 2024, that's the day that she left this earth. And I submit to you this morning that the date of her birth is not the most important thing. The date of her death is not the most important thing. The most important thing is the dash in between those two dates. Because the dash represents the span of her life. The dash represents the time that God gave her to prepare to meet him in judgment. And there are two appointments that we all must keep. Hebrews 9:27 says, it is appointed unto men once to die. After that comes the judgment. And so the dash represents the time that God has given us to prepare to meet him in judgment. As I close, if you are here this morning the passing of a child of God is a paradoxical event. On the one hand, it's sad because we miss the presence of our loved one. But if you're a child of God, on the other hand, it's a joyful event because absent from the body is present with the Lord. And so, because Alison doesn't live at this address anymore, we know that she is currently in paradise, in the place of comfort. Her next address will be heaven, where she will be in the presence of God for all eternity. Where will your next address be? If you are here this morning and you are not a child of God, today can be your day. On April 27th, 2024, that was Alison's last day on his earth. But today, May 13th, 2024, could be the day that you bury all of your sins by being washed in the waters of baptism, putting Christ on, and beginning the journey of having the Lord transform your life, you being transformed into the image of God's only Son. And trust me, brothers and sisters, when you have that perspective, when you have that relationship with God, though this is a sad event, it doesn't ruin you. It doesn't stop you. Because you know, as was read in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 through chapter 5, verse 1, we don't look at the physical because that's temporary. We look at the spiritual because that's eternal. And even though Alison's body, this body was ravaged with disease and ultimately passed away, she has a new home in the heavens, not made with human hands. And so for that, we rejoice, and you too can have that relationship. But when you have that relationship with God, you look at life from a divine perspective. You look at life from the perspective that God is in control, and if he allows it to happen, there is a purpose for him allowing it to happen. But regardless of what happens, you be faithful to God, and he will guide your steps. He will help you to make it through whatever your storm is. When you're a child of God, when you lay your head down, you can fly away. And our sister Lena is getting ready to sing right now about flying away. Thank you.
I'm going to shorten the song, but this is a request. My middle name is Ruth. I'm very proud of that name. So I promised her that I would sing this song for her. This is very difficult. I just just ask God to be with me. I'll fly away to a home not so far away.
No sadness, no sorrow, no tears of pain. I'm living now with the Son of Man.
For all that I see, Lord, in this troubled land, it's war and no peace, Lord. Oh, it's bad, it's bad. Oh, one day all the saints will be home at last, and the world and his suffering, Lord, will have passed. Oh, and fly away, Lord, yes, to our home not so far away. For I know there will be no sadness, no sorrow, no tears of pain. For one day, yes, now live in love with the Son of Man.
Takes all the pain, yes I can. I can even take the heartaches that it brings. I smile, cause I know one day I'll soon be gone. Hey, so say what you wanna say. You can scandalize my name, cause one of these days God's gonna take his hand and wipe all of my tears away. No, I won't have to cry no more. I'll be living in my brand new home. If you miss me and I'm gone, just remember that I sang this song. Said I'm going up. I'm gonna shout troubles